Enter Nina, 17, warm smile, a sketchbook in hand. She notices Owen, recognizes him from school, and sits a few feet away. Nina. Hey, Owen, right? Owen. Surprised, tucks the baggie away. Yeah. And you're? Nina. Nina. We had English together last year. You always sat in the back. Owen. Yeah. That sounds like me. Nina. You okay? Owen hesitates, then shrugs. Nina flips open her sketchbook, showing a half-finished drawing. Nina. Come here to draw. Clears my head. You. Owen. Smirks. I come here to not think. Nina gives him a knowing look but doesn't press. Nina. Softly. Sometimes not thinking is the hardest thing to do. Owen glances at her, intrigued but wary. He shifts, restless, fingers drumming against his knee. Owen. Smirks. You sound like a fortune cookie. Nina. Grinning. Better than sounding like a math textbook. Owen chuckles despite himself. Nina watches him for a beat, then dips her pencil back onto the sketchbook. Nina. You ever try drawing? Owen. Not really my thing. Nina. Doesn't have to be good. Just something to do. She tears a blank page from her sketchbook and hands it to him. Owen hesitates before taking it. Owen. And if I just scribble a stick figure? Nina. Then it's the best damn stick figure of the night. Owen shakes his head but pulls a pen from his pocket. He starts drawing, slowly, unsure. Nina keeps sketching beside him, letting the silence settle. After a few minutes, Nina sneaks a peek at his paper. Nina. Smiling. Is that supposed to be me? Owen huffs a laugh, embarrassed but amused. Owen. Abstract. Nina. Oh, totally. Very avant-garde. Owen shakes his head, pretending to be exasperated, but there's a hint of a smile. He looks at his crude drawing again, then absently taps his pen against the page. Owen. Smirks. Maybe I'll just stick to not thinking. Nina. Smirking back. Suit yourself. But next time I expect a masterpiece. Owen. Next time. Nina. Unless you're planning on disappearing. Owen hesitates. The question lingers between them. Nina doesn't push, just keeps sketching. Eventually, he sighs and leans back against the bench, staring up at the sky. Owen. I don't know. Haven't really thought that far ahead. Nina. Softly. You don't have to. Sometimes just showing up is enough. She says it like she knows what that feels like. Owen studies her for a second. Owen. You come here a lot, huh? Nina. It's quiet. Gives me space to. She gestures vaguely at the sketchbook. Owen. To think. Nina. Chuckles. Or not think. Owen lets out a small laugh, shaking his head. Nina leans over slightly, her voice more playful now. Nina. So, you gonna tell me what you were hiding in your pocket earlier? Owen stiffens. The teasing in her voice doesn't quite mask the concern in her eyes. He looks away, fingers curling around the edge of the paper she gave him. Owen. Coughs. You really don't give up, do you? Nina. Nope. She's still smiling, but there's something steady in her gaze. Owen exhales, rubbing a hand over his face. Owen. Small, hesitant. It's nothing. Just bad habits. Nina. Quietly. Bad habits can get worse if you let them. Owen clenches his jaw, looking at her again. He should be annoyed, but there's no judgment in her voice. Just understanding. That feels rare. For a moment, neither of them says anything. Then, Nina flips her sketchbook around, revealing her finished drawing, a loose, expressive portrait of Owen. His guarded expression captured perfectly. Nina. Here. Reminder. Owen. Frowning. Of what? Nina. That you were here. That you existed outside of whatever's messing with your head. Owen stares at the sketch. Something in his throat tightens. He swallows hard and looks at her. Owen. Smirks, but softer this time. You really are a fortune cookie. Nina. Grinning. Told you. The night stretches on, quiet but not empty. And for the first time in a long time, Owen doesn't feel completely alone. A comfortable silence lingers between them. The faint hum of distant traffic, the rustling of leaves, everything feels still, like they exist in their own little pocket of the world. Owen traces a finger over the sketch Nina gave him. He doesn't say anything, but she can tell he's thinking. Nina. Softly. You don't have to say anything. Owen exhales, running a hand through his hair. Owen. I used to draw, a long time ago. Nina perks up, surprised. Nina. Really? Owen. Smirks. Not well. But yeah. Mostly dumb little cartoons. Nina. That's not dumb. That's art. Owen chuckles, shaking his head. But there's something in his eyes, like he's remembering a version of himself he hasn't seen in a while. Nina. What made you stop? Owen hesitates, then looks away. Owen. Life. Nina studies him. There's weight behind that word, more than he's letting on. Nina. Life's kind of a thief like that, huh? Steals things from you when you're not looking. Owen glances at her, caught off guard by how easily she gets it. Owen. He exhales, slouching further into the bench. His fingers toy with the edge of the sketchbook paper. Owen. I don't know why I'm telling you this. Nina. Maybe because I'm not expecting anything back. Owen lets that sit for a moment. Nina stretches, closing her sketchbook. Nina. I should head home before my sister starts sending search parties. She stands, slinging her bag over her shoulder. Owen watches her, an unspoken thought lingering in his expression. Nina. Tilting her head. You gonna be okay? Owen hesitates, then nods. It's not entirely convincing, but Nina doesn't push. Instead, she digs into her bag, pulling out a pen. Nina. Here. She takes his hand and scribbles a number on his palm. Nina. For next time. In case you want to draw something other than stick figures. Owen stares at the number. Something unfamiliar flickering in his expression. He smirks. Owen. No promises. Nina grins. Nina. Didn't ask for any. With that, she walks off, leaving Owen alone on the bench, except, for the first time in a long time, he doesn't feel completely alone. He looks down at the sketch Nina gave him, then at the number on his hand. Beep. Then, he folds the paper carefully and tucks it into his pocket like something worth keeping. Owen sits on the same bench, hood up, staring at the blank page in his hands. A pen rests between his fingers, but he hasn't drawn a single line. Footsteps approach. He doesn't look up. Nina. Smirking. Thought you weren't making any promises. Owen exhales a small laugh, finally glancing up. Nina stands in front of him, her sketchbook tucked under her arm. Owen. Didn't. Just. Ended up here. Nina. Lucky me then. She plops down next to him, setting her bag at her feet. A breeze ruffles the pages of her sketchbook as she flips it open. Owen watches as she starts sketching, her pencil gliding effortlessly over the page. After a beat, he shifts, rubbing the back of his neck. Owen. You ever feel like you don't know who you are anymore? Nina pauses for just a second before resuming her sketch. Nina. Owen raises an eyebrow, surprised at how easily she admits it. Nina. I think people expect you to be a certain way, and after a while you start playing the part, even if it's not you anymore. Owen exhales, nodding. Owen. Nina tilts her head, studying him. Nina. You ever think about just rewriting the script? Owen smirks. Owen. Like a bad movie. Nina. Like a second draft. Owen leans back, thinking. The idea feels foreign, like he never considered the possibility that he could change the narrative. Nina. Gesturing to his paper. Speaking of drafts, did you actually draw something, or are you just holding that for decoration? Owen scoffs, rolling his eyes, but there's no bite to it. Slowly, he turns the page toward her. It's a rough, uncertain sketch, a city skyline. The line's a little shaky, but there's something there. Nina's expression softens. Nina. You liar. You can draw. Owen shrugs, but there's a flicker of something in his eyes, pride maybe. Owen. Haven't done it in a while. Nina studies the sketch, then nods approvingly. Nina. Well, congrats. You just made your first mark on the second draft. Owen huffs a laugh, shaking his head. Owen. You always this annoyingly motivational. Nina. Only for lost causes. He grins. He smirks back. The weight on his shoulders still lingers, but for the first time it doesn't feel as heavy. And for now that's enough. Owen exhales, tossing his phone onto the couch as if it burned him. He runs a hand through his hair, still feeling the phantom pull of old habits. Nina. Owen. Her voice is gentle, grounding. He picks up the phone again. Owen. Yeah, sorry. Just a lot on my mind. Nina. Want me to come over? Owen glances at the door, the weight of loneliness pressing down on him. He knows the temptation will return if he's alone too long. Owen. Yeah, that'd be nice. Knock. Owen hesitates before opening the door. Nina stands there, bundled in an oversized hoodie, concern flickering in her eyes. Nina. Hey! He steps aside. She walks in, glancing around the dimly lit space, her gaze landing on the couch littered with half-empty coffee cups and crumpled receipts. Nina. Rough night. Owen rubs his face. Owen. You could say that. She studies him, waiting. No pressure. Just presence. Nina. You don't have to tell me, but I'm here. Owen swallows hard, emotions clawing up his throat. He shoves his hands into his pockets, rocking on his heels. Owen. I deleted his number. Nina blinks. Then her expression softens with something like pride. Nina. That's a big step. Nina sinks onto the couch, pulling her legs up beneath her. Owen remains standing, arms crossed, as if unsure what to do with himself. Nina. So, do you want to talk about it? Owen hesitates. He's not used to opening up. Not about this, but something about the way Nina looks at him, patient, steady, makes him want to try. Owen. It's stupid. Nina. Doubt it. He exhales, raking a hand through his hair. Owen. I was clean for 6 months. Then tonight, out of nowhere, I get this text. Nina doesn't flinch. She just listens. Owen. I almost replied. Almost said, just this once. But I didn't. He lets out a hollow laugh, shaking his head. Owen. You ever feel like your own mind is trying to trip you up? Like even when you're doing better, some part of you just wants to burn it all down? Nina studies him, then nods. Nina. Yeah, I get that. Owen looks at her, skeptical. Owen. You. Miss Perfect. He snorts. Nina. Far from it. Was. Nina picks at a loose thread on her hoodie. Nina. I used to have panic attacks so bad I couldn't leave my house for days. I'd cancel plans, make up excuses, pretend I was fine. But inside, I felt like I was drowning. Owen watches her, surprised. Owen. You never told me that. Nina. Didn't think it mattered. Until now. Silence stretches between them. It's different now, heavier but also lighter. Nina. You don't have to do this alone, Owen. He exhales. Owen. I know. And for the first time in a long time, he actually believes it. The TV hums in the background, playing some old sitcom neither of them is really watching. Nina sits cross-legged on the couch, nursing a cup of tea she made from the stash she found in Owen's cabinet. He didn't even remember buying it. Owen sits beside her, leaning forward, elbows on his knees, lost in thought. Nina. What are you thinking about? He exhales, running a hand down his face. Owen. That it's never really over. I thought 6 months meant I was past it. But one text and suddenly I'm right back there. Wanting it. Hating that I want it. Nina sets her tea down and shifts closer. Nina. It's not about never wanting it again. It's about choosing not to. Over and over. Owen lets that sink in. He taps his fingers against his knee, restless. Owen. I feel like I'm always one bad night away from screwing everything up. Nina watches him for a moment before she speaks. Nina. Then don't do it alone. Call me next time. Or show up at my place at 3 a.m. if you have to. Just don't sit in it by yourself. Owen looks at her, really looks at her, and there's something raw in his eyes. Something that says he wants to believe her. Owen, you sure you want to sign up for that? Nina smirks, nudging his knee with hers. Nina, I already did. A small, almost reluctant smile tugs at Owen's lips. It's not much, but it's real. Owen and Nina walk side by side, the city still waking up. The air is crisp, the sky streaked with the first hints of sunrise. Owen shoves his hands into his jacket pockets. Owen, feels weird being up this early. Nina, feels good though, right? He tilts his head, considering. Owen, yeah, it kind of does. They reach a small corner cafe just as the owner flips the sign to open. Nina grins. Nina, coffee. Owen exhales, then nods. Owen, yeah, let's get coffee. And for the first time in a long time, he feels like maybe, just maybe, he's taking the first step towards something better. The streetlights flicker above her, casting long shadows as Owen disappears into the crowd with his old friends. Her grip tightens around her phone. She should leave, walk away. But her heart won't let her. Steeling herself, she follows, weaving through the busy street. She keeps her distance, watching as Owen and his old dealer disappear into a dimly lit alleyway. Her pulse pounds. She hesitates for only a second before stepping closer. Inside the alley, Owen leans against a brick wall, his jaw clenched. The dealer, a wiry man with cold eyes, laughs and claps Owen on the back. Dealer, back where you belong, huh? Owen exhales sharply, running a hand through his hair. I didn't say I was in. Nina's voice cuts through the tension. Nina, you don't have to be. Owen's head snaps up. His eyes darken with frustration. Owen. Nina, leave. Nina. Not until you do. The dealer chuckles, stepping forward. You bringing your girl to watch, Owen? Thought you liked to keep this life separate. Owen's fists clench. Shut up. Nina swallows hard, her heart hammering. You told me you wanted out, Owen. If that's still true, prove it. Walk away. Right now. Silence stretches between them. Owen's expression wavers, anger, guilt, longing. Then, with a sharp inhale, he pushes past the dealer. Owen. Let's go. Nina exhales in relief, falling into step beside him. But as they emerge from the alley, she catches the dealer's smirk and a quiet warning. Dealer. You'll be back. Owen stiffens but doesn't look back. Nina slips her hand into his, gripping tight. She doesn't know if this is enough, if her love is enough to pull him out for good. But tonight he chose her. And that has to count for something. Owen and Nina walk in silence, the city buzzing around them. Streetlights flicker and distant sirens wail, but all Nina can hear is the unsteady rhythm of Owen's breath. She tightens her grip on his hand, afraid that if she lets go, he'll slip away again. Finally, he stops near a bench in a quiet park. His hands tremble as he runs them through his hair. You shouldn't have followed me. Nina crosses her arms, her voice softer now. And if I hadn't, would you have stayed? Owen exhales, looking away. I don't know. The words cut deep, but she doesn't back down. Then tell me the truth. Do you want out, Owen? Or am I just wasting my time? He drags a hand down his face. I do, but it's not that simple. Nina's chest tightens. Why? Why do you keep running back to them? Owen's jaw clenches. Because they don't expect me to be something I'm not. Her eyes search his. And what do you think I expect? He hesitates, then shakes his head. To be better. To be the version of me that you believe in. But what if I can't be him, Nina? She takes a step closer. You can. I see it every time you pull away, every time you hesitate. You want to change, Owen, but you're scared. He lets out a bitter laugh. Of what? Nina swallows. Of failing. Of not being enough. She reaches for his hand again. But you are. And you don't have to do it alone. Owen looks at her, eyes raw with emotion. The weight of his past, of his mistakes, presses on him like a storm cloud. He wants to believe her, wants to believe in himself. After a long silence, he whispers, "I don't deserve you." Nina shakes her head. "That's not your choice to make." He exhales, nodding slightly, as if finally accepting that maybe, just maybe, he can try. But deep down, Nina knows this isn't the end of the fight. It's only the beginning. The night air is thick with unspoken words as Owen and Nina sit on the park bench. His fingers tap restlessly against his knee, while she watches him, waiting. "Owen," she says gently, "what happens now?" He exhales sharply, rubbing his temples. "I don't know." Nina sighs, tucking her knees to her chest. "You have to figure it out. Because I can't keep doing this. Chasing after you, wondering if you'll slip back." Her voice is steady, but Owen can hear the ache beneath it. He looks at her, then really looks. The way her brows knit together in worry. The way her lips press into a thin line like she's bracing herself for another heartbreak. "You think I don't want to change?" His voice is low, almost a whisper. "I do. But when everything else in my life feels like it's falling apart, that," he gestures toward the alley, toward the ghosts of his past, "is the only thing that makes sense." Nina's heart clenches. "That's not true." He shakes his head. "It is. It's easy. No expectations. No one looking at me like I have to be something more." She reaches out, placing a hand over his. "You are more. You just have to believe it, Owen." Silence. A long, painful silence. Then, a vibration from Owen's pocket shatters the moment. He hesitates before pulling out his phone. His face darkens as he reads the message. "Dealer. You owe me a favor, kid. Time to pay up." Owen's stomach knots. He knew this was coming. He should have known walking away wouldn't be that easy. Nina notices the shift in his expression. "What is it?" Owen hesitates. If he tells her, she'll worry. If he doesn't, he's lying. And after everything, after tonight, he doesn't want to lie to her. "It's him," Owen finally says. "He's not letting me go that easily." Nina's breath catches. "What does he want?" Owen swallows. "A favor." Her fingers tighten around his. "You don't owe him anything." Owen lets out a dry laugh. "That's not how this works, Nina." She shakes her head. "Then we make it work another way." Owen looks at her, his pulse pounding. He wants to believe her. He wants to believe there's a way out that doesn't involve falling back into the life he's trying to escape. But the past has a way of pulling people back. And right now, Owen isn't sure if he's strong enough to fight it. Owen stands before Nina, uncertain but hopeful. She closes her sketchbook, watching him carefully. "Owen." Softly. "I wasn't sure you'd want to see me." Nina. Smirking. "I wasn't sure either." Beep. Then she pats the space beside her. He hesitates before sitting down, his hands clasped. "Owen. I meant what I wrote. I know I don't deserve." Nina. Interrupting. I don't want an apology. I want to know, are you really here?" He nods, emotion thick in his throat. "Owen. And I want to be." Nina studies him, searching for the boy she once knew, the boy who vanished into addiction and left her with nothing but painful memories. But there's something different now. A steadiness. "Nina." She picks up her pencil, resuming her sketch. After a moment, she tilts the book toward him. "Nina. Kept drawing you. Even when I was mad." Owen stares at the rough lines of his face, the shadows under his eyes, the raw emotion she captured. "Owen. Missed you." She exhales, looking up at him. "Nina. Too." A quiet understanding passes between them. Fresh start, not perfect, not easy, but real. Owen swallows hard, tracing the edges of Nina's sketch with his fingertips. "Owen." Softly. "You make me look better than I remember." Nina. Chuckles. "Art is about truth, not flattery." She flips to another page, another sketch of him. This one from before. Hollow eyes. Gaunt cheeks. The difference is staggering. Owen tenses. "Owen. I don't want to be that guy again." Nina. "And don't." She says it so simply, as if it's just a choice. Maybe it is. Maybe, for the first time, he believes he has control over it. Owen. Can I see more? Nina raises an eyebrow but hands over the sketchbook. Page after page, he sees himself through her eyes: pain, longing, anger, hope. His throat tightens. Owen. You never gave up on me. Nina. Tried. I really tried. She exhales, rubbing her temples. Nina. But I couldn't. Silence settles between them, thick with unspoken words. Owen. I don't want to ruin this again. Nina. And don't. It's a challenge. An offering. He nods, accepting it. Owen. One day at a time. Nina. One day at a time. A breeze passes between them, carrying away the weight of the past. Owen leans back on his hands, watching the sky fade to indigo. For the first time in a long time, he doesn't feel lost. And neither does she. The silence between them is no longer heavy, it's comfortable. Familiar. Nina leans back beside Owen, her head tilting toward the sky. Nina. So what now? Owen exhales, rubbing his palms together. Owen. I'm still figuring that out. Got a place at the halfway house. A job at that little cafe on 5th. Nina. Smiling. You. Making coffee. Owen. Hey, turns out I'm pretty good at it. People actually smile when I hand them their order. It's weird. She chuckles, the sound warm and real. Nina. I bet you mess up the milk foam. Owen. Hey, I'll have you know my latte art is improving. Barely. Nina shakes her head, but there's something softer in her expression now. Like she's allowing herself to see a future instead of just the past. Nina. I'm glad. Owen hesitates, then gathers his courage. Owen. And you? Still sketching. Nina. Still sketching. Still trying to figure out what I want. Nina. I spent so long being angry at you. Myself. She pulls her knees up to her chest, looking down at the ground. Nina. But maybe I was just scared. Owen. Of what? Nina. That if I let you back in, I'd lose you all over again. Owen's chest tightens. He reaches for her hand, hesitant, but she doesn't pull away. Owen. I don't expect you to trust me right away. I want to try. If you'll let me. Nina studies him for a long moment. Then, finally. Nina. One day at a time. Owen's lips curve into a small, relieved smile. Owen. One day at a time. The city hums around them, the world moving forward. And for the first time in years, so do they. Together. The streetlights flicker on, casting a golden glow over the pavement. Owen and Nina sit side by side, neither rushing to fill the silence. Nina. You know, I kept wanting to write you letters. Owen turns to her, surprised. Owen. You did. Nina. 100 times. And start, then stop. Tear them up. I didn't know if you'd even read them. Owen. I would have. She glances at him, skeptical. Nina. Back then. Owen exhales, shaking his head. Owen. Okay, maybe not. Nina smirks, nudging his shoulder with hers. Nina. At least you're honest. He laughs, and for the first time it doesn't feel like he's faking it. It's real. Like this moment. Owen shifts, his fingers idly tracing the edge of the bench. Owen. I thought about writing more to you. After that first letter. Nina. Why didn't you? Owen. I was scared you wouldn't write back. She tilts her head, considering him. Nina. Maybe I should have. A breeze rustles through the trees, carrying the scent of rain from the pavement. It smells like the night they first met years ago, when everything was simpler, when love felt easy, before addiction, before heartbreak. Nina exhales, finally turning to face him fully. Nina. I don't know what this means. Owen. Me neither. Then, she laces her fingers through his tentative, like testing the waters. Owen stills, his heart pounding. Nina. But I know I don't want to walk away. Not yet. Owen tightens his grip like an anchor. Owen. And don't. Nina nods, a small smile playing at her lips. Nina. Bae. They sit there, hand in hand, as the city hums around them. The past isn't erased, the wounds aren't fully healed, but maybe, Just maybe they don't have to be. Because this is a start. The city moves around them, cars passing, distant laughter from a nearby cafe, the rhythmic hum of life continuing. But for Owen and Nina, time feels suspended, caught in the quiet space between past regrets and uncertain hope. Owen looks down at their intertwined fingers, as if making sure it's real. Owen, I miss this. Nina's fingers twitch slightly in his grasp, but she doesn't pull away. Nina, it's not the same. Her words aren't harsh, just honest. And she's right. Nothing is the same. Owen nods slowly. Owen, you know, and maybe that's a good thing. Nina studies him, searching for the boy she once knew, the boy who disappeared into his addiction, who left behind silence and broken promises. But what she sees now isn't just that boy. Someone different, someone trying. She sighs, leaning back against the bench. Nina, you really like making coffee. Owen, chuckling. Surprisingly, yeah. The morning rush is hell though. People take their caffeine way too seriously. Nina, you. Complaining about early mornings. Who are you? Owen laughs, rubbing the back of his neck. Owen, recovery changes a guy. Nina's expression softens. Nina, I'm glad you're here. Owen, too. A comfortable silence settles between them, and for the first time in years, it doesn't feel like something is missing. After a moment, Nina nudges him with her knee. Nina, so do I get a free coffee if I stop by? Owen, grinning. That depends. You gonna tip me? Nina, smirking. Guess you'll have to wait and see. Owen chuckles, shaking his head. But there's something lighter in the air now. Something unspoken but understood. Nina picks up her sketchbook again, flipping to a blank page. She glances at Owen before putting pencil to paper. Owen, what are you drawing? Nina. Owen raises an eyebrow. Owen, again. Nina. Softly. But this time I want to get it right. Owen watches her. His chest tightening, but not with fear, not with guilt. With something else. Something that feels like hope. And as Nina sketches and Owen just breathes, the city hums on. And for the first time in a long time, neither of them feels lost.